Picture this. You wake up Monday morning, check your phone, and see 3 messages that could destroy your financial life. First, an email from HR about company layoffs. Second, a text from your mechanic saying your car needs a rupees 50,000 repair. Third, a hospital bill for rupees 2 lakhs from last month's emergency visit. Which one scares you most? Here's the thing. If you have an emergency fund, none of them should keep you awake at night. But if you don't, any one of these could send you spiraling into debt that takes years to recover from. The brutal truth is that 47% of Indians save less than 10% of their income for emergencies. That means nearly half our population is living one crisis away from financial disaster. And it's not just India. In America, 36% of people can't even cover a rupees 33,000 unexpected expense without borrowing money or selling something. But here's what's even more shocking. 40% of affluent Indians, people who should know better, still don't have adequate emergency funds. These are educated, well-earning individuals who understand money, yet they're gambling with their financial security every single day. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to change that for you. You'll learn exactly why emergency funds are non-negotiable, how to calculate your personal target amount, where to invest this money for maximum safety and returns, and the step-by-step system to build your fund faster than you thought possible. I'll share real stories of people whose emergency funds saved them from bankruptcy, and others whose lack of preparation cost them everything. By the end of this masterclass, you'll have a complete action plan to build financial armor that protects you from life's inevitable surprises. Here's exactly what we'll cover. First, the cold hard statistics about why emergency funds aren't optional. They're survival tools. Second, the scientific method to calculate your exact emergency fund target based on your lifestyle and risk factors. Third, where to park this money so it's safe, accessible, and actually grows over time. Then we'll dive into practical building strategies, including how to fund your emergency account even if you're living paycheck to paycheck. I'll show you common mistakes that keep people broke, and advanced tactics that wealthy individuals use to stay financially bulletproof. Grab a notebook because you're going to want to write this down. Pause Netflix, silence your phone notifications, and commit the next hour to securing your financial future. Trust me, this is the most important money conversation you'll have this year. Before we start, let me share why this matters to me personally. 3 years ago, I was that person living without an emergency fund, thinking nothing bad would happen. Then my father had a heart attack, my company went through layoffs, and my car broke down, all in the same month. I went from feeling financially secure to maxing out credit cards and borrowing money from family. That experience taught me that emergency funds aren't about pessimism. They're about being prepared for reality. Today, I'll share everything I wish someone had taught me before life delivered those expensive lessons. Let's start with some numbers that will shock you. Car repair costs have jumped 43.6% since 2019. What used to be a rupees 24,000 repair bill is now rupees 35,000. And this isn't slowing down. Motor vehicle repair prices increased 20% just in the past year alone. Medical emergencies are even worse. In India, a basic emergency room visit costs several thousand rupees, which sounds manageable until you realize that 40 crore Indians are just one medical emergency away from financial ruin. In the US, that same emergency room visit costs between rupees 58,000 to rupees 2.8 lakhs, which explains why 79 million Americans have medical debt problems. But it's not just about the big emergencies. The average person faces multiple smaller financial shocks every year. Appliance breakdowns, phone replacements, unexpected travel for family emergencies, or even just car maintenance that costs more than expected. Without an emergency fund, each of these becomes a debt trap. Here's what happens when you don't have emergency savings. You swipe your credit card. That rupees 50,000 car repair becomes rupees 50,000 plus 36% annual interest. If you only make minimum payments, you'll pay over rupees 90,000 total and take nearly 4 years to clear the debt. But it gets worse. Now you're paying rupees 3,088 extra every month toward that debt. which means you have even less money to save for the next emergency. So when your laptop crashes or you need a root canal, you borrow again. Each emergency pushes you deeper into the hole. I've seen people get trapped in this cycle for decades. They're not irresponsible with money. They just never built the foundation to handle life's surprises. Meanwhile, people with emergency funds treat these same events as minor inconveniences, pay cash, and move on with their lives. Research shows that emergency funds provide benefits far beyond just covering expenses. A Vanguard study of over 12,400 investors found that people with emergency savings have higher levels of financial well-being, spend less time thinking about finances, and are less distracted at work. Think about this. People without emergency savings spend an average of 7.3 hours per week worrying about and managing their finances. That's nearly an hour every single day consumed by financial stress. People with adequate emergency funds spend significantly less time on this mental burden. Having rupees 1.5 lakhs in savings can be the difference between sleeping peacefully and lying awake at 3 a.m., calculating how you'll pay next month's bills. It's the difference between taking a job because you love it versus taking any job because you're desperate. Emergency funds don't just protect your wallet. They protect your peace of mind and your ability to make good long-term decisions. Let me paint some realistic scenarios. Rajesh was a software engineer earning rupees 12 lakhs annually. He felt financially secure until his company shut down their Bangalore office. Without an emergency fund, he had to take the first job offer he got, a 40% pay cut at a startup with no job security. His friend Priya, who earned less but had built a 6-month emergency fund, used her job loss as an opportunity. She took 3 months to interview with multiple companies, negotiated a better package, and actually increased her salary by 25%. The difference? Priya could afford to wait for the right opportunity. Here's another one. Vikram's daughter needed emergency surgery that cost rupees 3 lakhs. His insurance covered rupees 2 lakhs, but he needed the remaining rupees 1 lakh up front. Without savings, he borrowed against his house. The stress of managing that debt while his daughter recovered created additional family tension during an already difficult time. The biggest objection I hear is, "But I'm losing money by keeping cash in low-return savings instead of investing in mutual funds." This thinking is backwards. Emergency funds aren't investments, they're insurance. You don't complain about car insurance premiums because you didn't have an accident this year. You pay for the peace of mind and protection. Emergency funds work the same way. The cost of keeping money liquid is the price you pay for financial security. Plus, consider the real opportunities of not having an emergency fund. When you're forced to sell investments during a market crash to fund an emergency, you lock in losses that could take years to recover. When you borrow on credit cards, you pay interest rates of 24 to 36% annually. Emergency funds prevent both scenarios. The wealthy understand this. They keep substantial cash reserves, not because they're scared of investing, but because cash provides options. When opportunities arise or emergencies hit, they have the flexibility to act from a position of strength rather than desperation. You've probably heard the rule, keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in emergency savings. But this generic advice misses important nuances. The right amount depends on your specific situation, job security, family structure, and risk tolerance. Here's a more precise framework. 3 months of expenses works for single people with stable jobs, no dependents, and strong family support networks. Think government employees, teachers, or professionals in recession-proof industries who rent their homes and have minimal debt obligations. 6 months is the sweet spot for most people. This covers dual-income families, homeowners with mortgages, parents with children, or anyone with moderate job security in stable industries. This gives you enough runway to find comparable employment without panic decisions. 9 to 12. Month becomes necessary for single-income households, commission-based workers, entrepreneurs, or people in volatile industries like media, hospitality, or startups. If your income fluctuates significantly, or if losing your job means your spouse's income alone can't cover expenses, you need more cushion. The key word is essentials, not your current lifestyle expenses. Emergency funds should cover what you absolutely need to survive and maintain basic stability, not your vacation budget or entertainment subscriptions. Start with your fixed obligations: rent or EMI payments, utility bills, insurance premiums, minimum debt payments, groceries, transportation costs, and basic medical expenses. Don't include restaurant meals, shopping, streaming services, gym memberships, or hobby expenses. For example, if you currently spend rupees 80,000 per month, but rupees 25,000 goes to discretionary spending, your emergency fund should cover rupees 55,000 monthly. Multiply this by your target number of months. A 6-month fund would be rupees 3.3 lakhs, not rupees 4.8 lakhs based on total spending. This distinction is crucial because emergencies often coincide with income reduction. If you lose your job, you'll naturally cut non-essential expenses anyway. Your emergency fund just needs to cover the expenses you can't eliminate while you get back on your feet. Let's walk through realistic scenarios for different income levels. If you earn rupees 25,000 monthly and your essentials are rupees 20,000, your 6-month emergency fund target is rupees 1.2 lakhs. This might seem impossible, but we'll cover building strategies that make it achievable. For someone earning rupees 50,000 with rupees 35,000 in essentials, the target becomes rupees 2.1 lakhs for 6 months. At rupees 75,000 income with rupees 50,000 essentials, you need rupees 3 lakhs. Notice how emergency fund targets don't scale linearly with income because lifestyle inflation should be controlled. Higher earners have additional considerations. If you earn rupees 2 lakhs monthly, your emergency fund might need to cover not just essentials, but also professional expenses like maintaining appearances, networking costs, or industry memberships that are crucial for finding your next opportunity. Remember, these are starting points. Adjust based on your risk factors. Do you have aging parents who might need financial support? Are you in an industry facing disruption? Do you have chronic health conditions? Each risk factor might justify a larger emergency fund. Students and recent graduates need smaller emergency funds but face unique challenges. Focus on 1-3 months of basic expenses. Prioritizing rent, food, and transportation, your biggest emergencies might be laptop failure, medical issues, or unexpected travel home. Early career professionals should aim for 3 to 6 months, but can build gradually. Your income is growing, so start with rupees 50,000 to 1 lakh and increase as your salary rises. Focus on job loss protection since you have fewer backup options and less professional network. Mid-career individuals with families need robust 6-9-month funds. You're supporting multiple people, may have mortgages and education expenses, and changing jobs takes longer because you need to match compensation and seniority levels. Pre-retirees face different math entirely. You might need 12 to 24 months of expenses because finding new employment becomes much harder after age 50. Plus, you're closer to retirement and can't afford major setbacks to long-term savings. One common question: should I build my emergency fund first or start investing simultaneously? The answer depends on your current situation, but here's my framework. If you have zero emergency savings, put your first rupee 50,000 1 lakh toward emergency funds before investing elsewhere. This creates a basic buffer that prevents you from derailing other financial goals when minor emergencies hit. Once you have that foundation, you can split new savings between emergency funds and investments. Maybe 60% toward emergency funds and 40% toward CPs until you reach your full emergency target. Then flip those percentages. The key is avoiding the perfectionist trap. Don't wait until you have a perfect 6-month emergency fund before starting to invest. Similarly, don't ignore emergency savings because you're excited about investment returns. Balance both goals to build comprehensive financial strength. Mistake number 1: including investment returns in your emergency fund calculation. Don't assume your emergency fund will earn 8 to 10% annually. Plan conservatively with 4 to 6% returns, or even less. The goal is capital preservation, not wealth building. Mistake number 2: underestimating expenses during emergencies. Job loss often increases certain costs. You might pay more for health insurance, spend more on transportation for interviews, or have higher phone bills from increased networking calls. Mistake number 3, forgetting about taxes. If your emergency fund is in instruments that trigger tax obligations, factor that into your planning. Having rupees 3 lakhs that becomes rupees 2.7 lakhs after taxes and penalties isn't the same as having rupees 3 lakhs in liquid savings. Mistake number 4, not updating your target as life changes. Marriage, children, home purchases, career changes, or aging parents all impact your emergency fund needs. Review and adjust your target annually or after major life events. Emergency funds face a fundamental tension. You want maximum liquidity for true emergencies, but you also want your money to grow and beat inflation. The key is finding the sweet spot between accessibility and returns. Traditional savings accounts offer perfect liquidity. You can withdraw money instantly at any ATM. But with returns of 3 to 4% annually, your purchasing power actually decreases when inflation runs at 6-7%. Your rupees 3 lakh emergency fund becomes worth rupees 2.8 lakhs in real terms after just 1 year. On the other extreme, long-term investments like equity mutual funds might return 12 to 15% annually, but take 3 to 5 days to sell and transfer money to your account. Plus, values fluctuate daily. You might need rupees 2 lakhs for an emergency, but your investment could be worth rupees 1.7 lakhs during a market crash. The solution lies in instruments that provide reasonable returns with acceptable liquidity. We're not trying to optimize for maximum returns. We're optimizing for the best combination of growth, safety, and accessibility. Despite their limitations, traditional savings accounts should hold part of your emergency fund. Keep 1-2 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account for immediate access. This money covers ATM withdrawals, online payments, and situations where you need cash within minutes. Look for accounts with no minimum balance requirements, free ATM transactions, and online banking features. Private banks often offer better interest rates than public sector banks, especially for higher balances. Some banks provide 4 to 5% interest on savings accounts if you maintain larger balances. Consider opening accounts at 2-3 different banks to diversify risk and ensure you always have access, even if one bank's ATM network is down. Link these accounts to different debit cards so you have backup payment options during emergencies. The key is viewing this portion as ultra-liquid insurance, not an investment. You're paying for convenience and immediate access, accepting lower returns as the cost of that convenience. Fixed deposits offer higher returns than savings accounts, typically 5 to 7% annually, with complete capital protection. But they come with a critical flaw for emergency funds: liquidity penalties that can wipe out years of earned interest. Breaking an FD before maturity usually costs 0.51% in penalty charges, plus loss of higher interest rates. A 6% FD broken after 6 months might only earn 3 to 4% after penalties, making it worse than a savings account for that period. However, FDs can work for portions of your emergency fund that you're less likely to need quickly. Consider laddering multiple smaller FDs with different maturity dates. Instead of one rupees 3 lakh FD, create 6 rupees 50,000 FDs maturing every 6 months. This provides some liquidity without penalizing your entire emergency fund. Some banks offer flexi deposits or sweep-in FDs that automatically convert excess savings to FDs and back to savings when needed. These can provide FD-like returns with savings account-like liquidity, though terms vary significantly between banks. Liquid mutual funds have emerged as the optimal emergency fund solution for many investors. These funds invest in extremely short-term debt instruments, typically under 91 days maturity, providing better returns than savings accounts with excellent liquidity. Most liquid funds offer instant redemption up to rupees 50,000 per day, with money transferred to your bank account within 30 minutes during banking hours. Larger amounts are processed within 1 to 2 business days. This liquidity rivals savings accounts while providing returns that typically beat inflation. Historical returns for top liquid funds range from 5 to 7% annually, significantly better than savings accounts, but lower than longer-term debt funds. More importantly, Liquid funds have extremely low volatility. Your principal remains stable even during market turbulence. Tax efficiency provides another advantage. Liquid funds held for over 3 years qualify for indexation benefits, which can reduce tax liability compared to savings account interest that's taxed as regular income. For investors in higher tax brackets, this can add 1–2% to effective returns. Sophisticated emergency fund management involves creating multiple buckets with different liquidity and return profiles. Think of it as a tiered system where each layer serves specific emergency scenarios. Tier 1. Ultra-liquid, 1-month expenses. Savings account for immediate needs like ATM withdrawals or instant online payments. This money is available 24/7 without any processing delays or redemption procedures. Tier 2. High liquidity, 2 to 3 months expenses. Liquid mutual funds for emergencies that allow 1–2 days planning. Most genuine emergencies fall into this category, from medical bills to car repairs to job loss situations. Tier 3. Medium liquidity, 2 to 3 months expenses. Short-term debt funds or ultra-short duration funds for extended emergencies. These provide higher returns but require 2 to 3 days for redemption and have slightly higher risk. This structure maximizes returns while ensuring appropriate liquidity for different emergency scenarios. You earn savings account rates on only rupees 50,000 instead of rupees 3 lakhs, while still maintaining immediate access to necessary funds. Never put emergency funds in equity investments, even through SIPs. Stock markets can fall 30 to 50% during economic crises, exactly when you're most likely to need emergency money. Forced selling during market crashes locks in losses that might take years to recover. Avoid credit risk funds or long-duration debt funds that chase higher returns through additional risk. Emergency funds should never lose principal value, which rules out any investment with meaningful credit or interest rate risk. Don't use gold as an emergency fund. While gold holds value over time, liquidity can be challenging. Physical gold requires finding buyers, digital gold has exit procedures, and gold prices fluctuate significantly. Gold works better as long-term wealth preservation than emergency liquidity. Cryptocurrency is absolutely inappropriate for emergency funds. The volatility makes it impossible to predict available funds during emergencies, and converting crypto to bank account funds can take several days even under normal circumstances. Finally, avoid complex products like insurance investment combinations, structured products, or anything you don't fully understand. Emergency funds should be boring and predictable. Save innovation for your long-term investment portfolio. The biggest mistake people make is setting overwhelming targets that paralyze them into inaction. Instead of saying, I need rupees 3 lakhs for emergencies, start with, I need rupees 10,000 for small emergencies. This smaller goal feels achievable and creates immediate progress momentum. Rupees 10,000 covers many common emergencies: phone screen replacement, minor car repairs, medical consultations, or unexpected travel. Having this buffer prevents these situations from becoming credit card debt, which is already a huge win for your financial health. Once you hit rupees 10,000, celebrate the achievement and set your next target. Rupees 25,000, then rupees 50,000, then rupees 1 lakh. Each milestone feels attainable and builds the saving habit that will eventually reach your full target. Psychological research shows that breaking large goals into smaller milestones dramatically improves completion rates. Think of emergency fund building like training for a marathon. You don't start by running 42 kilometers. You start with 5K, then 10K, building endurance gradually. The same approach works for saving. Start with amounts that stretch you but don't break your budget. Manual saving fails because it relies on willpower and leftover money. The moment you get busy or face spending temptations, emergency fund contributions get skipped. Automation removes human psychology from the equation. Set up automatic transfers from your salary account to your emergency fund account immediately after each paycheck. If you're paid on the first, schedule the transfer for the second. This pay-yourself-first approach treats savings like a non-negotiable bill. Start with whatever amount you can sustain. Even rupees 2,000 monthly creates rupees 24,000 annually, which is substantial progress. As you get comfortable with automated saving and your income grows, increase the transfer amount. Many banks allow you to modify automatic transfers online. Consider using a separate bank for your emergency fund, so transfers require deliberate action to access. This creates a psychological barrier that prevents casual spending while keeping the money accessible for genuine emergencies. Most people think they need to earn more money to save for emergencies, but expense optimization often provides faster results. Small changes in spending can free significant money for emergency fund building. Track all expenses for 1 month using apps like Money Manager or even a simple spreadsheet. You'll discover spending patterns you weren't aware of. Those rupees 200 daily coffee purchases add up to rupees 6,000 monthly, which could fund emergency savings instead. Cancel subscriptions you rarely use. Review your Netflix, Amazon Prime, Spotify, gym memberships, and magazine subscriptions. Keep what you actively use, cancel the rest. This audit typically saves rupees 1,000 to 3,000 monthly with zero lifestyle impact. Negotiate better rates on existing services. Call your internet provider, insurance company, and phone carrier annually to ask about promotional rates or competitive offers. Companies often provide discounts to retain customers, savings you can redirect toward emergency funds, windfalls, bonuses, tax refunds, gifts, or investment gains. Provide excellent emergency fund acceleration opportunities. Instead of upgrading your lifestyle with unexpected money, direct it toward financial security first. Apply the 50-50 rule to windfalls. Save 50% for emergency funds. Spend 50% on something enjoyable. This balances responsible financial behavior with lifestyle rewards, making the approach sustainable long-term. For larger windfalls like annual bonuses, consider the 60-20-20 split. 60% toward emergency funds until fully funded, 20% toward other financial goals like investments, 20% for discretionary spending. This rapidly builds emergency reserves while maintaining balanced financial progress. Remember that emergency fund building should accelerate as your income grows. If you get a rupees 10,000 monthly raise, direct rupees 6,000 to 7,000 toward emergency savings rather than inflating your lifestyle proportionally. This approach reaches emergency fund targets much faster. Challenge 1. I don't have any money left after essential expenses. Solution: track expenses more carefully. Most people have more discretionary spending than they realize. Also consider income increases through skills development, side hustles, or job changes. Challenge 2. I keep dipping into my emergency fund for non-emergencies. Solution: define clear emergency criteria in advance and use separate accounts that require deliberate access. Also, build a small discretionary fund for wants versus needs. Challenge 3. It's taking forever to reach my target. Solution: remember that slow progress is still progress. Focus on the monthly habit rather than the final number. Consistency over time beats sporadic large contributions. Challenge 4. I feel like I'm missing investment opportunities. Solution: start investing simultaneously once you have a basic rupees 50,000 to 1 lakh emergency buffer. Don't wait for perfect emergency fund completion before beginning long-term wealth building. The key insight is that emergency fund building requires patience and persistence, not perfection. Every month you contribute is a month you're more financially secure than before, regardless of how far you are from your ultimate target. Emergency funds aren't standalone financial products. They're foundational elements that enable all other financial goals. Think of them as the concrete foundation of a house, boring but absolutely essential for everything else you want to build. With adequate emergency savings, you can invest more aggressively in long-term goals because you won't need to liquidate investments during temporary setbacks. You can take calculated career risks like starting a business or switching industries because you have financial runway. Emergency funds also protect your insurance strategy. Many people choose higher insurance deductibles to reduce premium costs, using emergency funds to cover the deductible if needed. This approach can save thousands annually on health and auto insurance while maintaining adequate coverage. Consider emergency funds as part of your overall asset allocation. If you have rupees 10 lakhs in total savings with rupees 3 lakhs in emergency funds, you effectively have a 30% in ultra-safe assets and 70% available for growth investments. This might influence how aggressively you invest the remaining 70%. Define emergency criteria before you need them. True emergencies threaten your basic security. Job loss, major medical expenses, essential home repairs, or transportation failures that impact your ability to work. Weddings, vacations, and shopping opportunities are not emergencies. When you do use emergency funds, replenish them immediately. Treat emergency fund replenishment as your highest financial priority until you're back to full funding. This might mean temporarily stopping other investments or reducing lifestyle spending. Keep detailed records of emergency fund usage. This helps you understand your actual emergency patterns and adjust your target amount if needed. If you consistently need more than your target, increase it. If you rarely use the full amount, you might be oversaving. Consider partial usage for semi-emergencies. If your car needs rupees 30,000 in repairs, but you can manage with rupees 15,000 in immediate fixes, use emergency funds for the critical portion and plan to save for the remaining repairs over 2-3 months. Review your emergency fund annually during tax season or around your birthday. Check if your target amount still matches your lifestyle, update investment choices if better options become available, and ensure your fund is growing at reasonable rates. Rebalance between different emergency fund vehicles as amounts grow. If liquid fund investments have grown significantly, you might want to move some profits to other debt instruments with slightly higher returns while maintaining appropriate liquidity levels. Keep emergency funds separate from other savings psychologically and literally. Use different banks or investment houses to prevent accidental mixing of emergency funds with other financial goals. This mental separation is crucial for maintaining discipline. Consider geographic diversification for very large emergency funds. If you have rupees 10 plus lakhs in emergency savings, spread it across multiple banks and investment companies to reduce institutional risk. Bank failures are rare, but having all emergency funds in one institution creates unnecessary concentration risk. Emergency funds are insurance, not investments. They're supposed to be boring and predictable. If you're worried about low returns on emergency funds, you're missing the point. The return on emergency funds is peace of mind and financial flexibility, not portfolio growth. Start today, not tomorrow. Open a separate savings account this week and transfer rupees 1,000. Set up automatic transfers for next month. Download a liquid fund app and explore options. Action creates momentum. Planning without action creates nothing. Remember that perfect is the enemy of good. A rupees 50,000 emergency fund is infinitely better than a rupees 0 emergency fund while you debate optimal investment strategies. Build first, optimize later. Finally, understand that emergency funds are not about pessimism. They're about optimism. You're not saving because you expect bad things to happen. You're saving so that when unexpected things happen, they don't derail the good life you're building. Your future self will thank you for the financial security you're building today. Every rupee you save for emergencies is a rupee that gives you options, reduces stress, and protects the dreams you're working toward. Take action. Start building. Sleep better knowing you're prepared for whatever life throws your way.